I'm in a place called the Southern Highlands, which is like 1.5 hours outside of Sydney on the way to Canberra, in these kind of hills that are, would you believe, as we're high up like the Cairngorms, actually. We're as high as the Cairngorms.
Oh my
Mount,
God.
so we have fir trees and parrots. It's like an extraordinary kind of life here. And kookaburras, these wonderful birds I feed every day. It's quite a life, and we're in a very English-looking village. If you can
Yeah,
imagine those villages on the south coast, like Sussex and Surrey and Kent,
yeah.
those silly little villages. It looks like that here. It's quite extraordinary, really.
So you're still in
Yeah.
between the two countries. How's that for yourself?
Well, look, I mean, I'm really happy in Oz. I mean, I love living here. There's this feeling of space all around you. As you know, I mean, the UK gets really hemmed in, doesn't it? You leave Liverpool, and before you know it, you've crossed into Preston. I mean, it's like everything's on top of each other. So we still have a little bit of division between places, which is really nice. So, I mean, for an old geezer like me, it's a nice thing to experience, having that kind of space when you choose it, when you want to choose it. In other words, you can drive here for about, we call it kilometers here, you could drive here for about 20 miles and you won't see a soul, when you get there. You'll be in a unique forest or something like that, or valley, and there's nobody there.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something that I need in this time of my life. So
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons I love it here. And of course, we've got lovely coasts, we've got lovely I mean, most of the cities are all dotted around the edge.
Yeah.
So when you go into the center, that's the special bit. No, I do love it. And I've all got these haunts, in Birmingham, or Wolverhampton. I'll love a good curry. In Scotland, I can't resist the oat cakes and things like that, and yeah, patties and all that stuff. It's like there's still things that I love. I mean, I used to live in Soho in London.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I just have to take a pilgrimage back there. I used to live, I lived on Baker Street, and I lived in Soho, right in Berwick Street Market,
Yeah.
above the market. So I've got to kind of like go back to all those haunts again. I still enjoy it. It still resonates, it's still
Yeah.
special. And of course, when I go back to the South Coast and we play Worthing, and I'll go and see my brother who now lives in our hometown of Shoreham after living all over the world, it's still special.
Yeah. How long is it then? When did you make the move to Oz?
2005. And yeah, it was, I look, I needed a kick in the pants. I mean, I in my career wise, because basically all I was being asked to do, as the 2000s broke over, I'd have great experiences going to Australia or going to South Africa or going to America. But every time I came back to England, it was like they wanted me to live in my past.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that was a weird period as well, because it was all boy bands, and if you weren't under 21, you couldn't get a record deal and all that sort of and it was all like it was like stock aitken Waterhouse world.
Yeah.
It was it was it was impossible for us legacy artists to be appreciated.
Yeah.
So rather than those old bluesmen used to leave America and come and tour in Britain and Scandinavia and Germany and be recognized, but I mean, they go back to America, nobody wanted to know. John Lee Hooker was not popular at all in America. Even Ry Cooder and people like that, or Randy Newman, they all had to come to Europe. So I was like that. And by going to Australia, all of a sudden people were saying, "Oh, you got a new record? Bring it on. Bring it here. You got new songs? You want to work with some artists down here? Yeah, come on. You got new ideas? We're into it." So I suddenly had a welcome,
Yeah.
that I needed really at that time of being 60 in my life. I needed a reason to keep going. Other than that, you just pack it in, or else you'd just end up going to Butlins and going around the motions.
Yeah.
Still do Butlins, of course, but you'd be just, you know what I mean? There's all those bands, a lot of my contemporaries that literally just go on stage, wear the old suits, do the hits, and get out.
Well, it's not too weird for yourself
I
because
can't do that. I can't do that. I've got to live in the now.
yeah, that's all, the moves obviously work to yourself and what you've because 19 years later
Yeah.
you're about to go back on the roads again. You still still got your audience, still as popular as ever, I suppose. So it's like how special is that for you that you can still do what you're doing?
Oh no, it's fantastic. Five decades. But I live a funny life. I've got like a dichotomy almost in my life where I make records now completely by myself, and I make them in a very artistic kind of way. You know, I mean, I'm not owned by record companies or anything like that. So I make the records I want to do, and then I present them to Demon Records, and they just release them, which is great. That's how it should be in a way, you know. And then I the other life I have is I've got an Australian band as well, and an English band, English manager, Australian manager. Um, I go out and work with the band, and it's like a different life, you know, because all of a sudden you're cohabiting with a bunch of guys. You're actually kind of like on stage, because we don't use any backing tracks or anything like that. We're actually interacting with each other, and the numbers can be different. You know, the songs can be different every night. We can suddenly go into a bit of a jam session in the middle of it. We don't know what's going to happen, and it's exciting.
Yeah.
But I find that's the rest of my life, you know, recording wise, I'm a hermit, and I sit by myself with my computers and piece together, make music, you know, that way. I mean, I can do it, and it's fantastic, you know. I mean, in 2000, about 2 years, 3 years ago, I made a Beatles tribute album,
Yeah.
Northern Song, and I was taking real liberties with the boys writing, because I was kind of doing it in my own style, but it was just great that nobody was telling me what to do.
Yeah.
I found it wonderful, because you know, we went through quite a few years where my career was kind of almost falling apart, really, where marketing had taken over. So everybody could only accept something from you if it sounded like something that sold. You know, it was all about who's got the biggest hits, and it
Yeah.
was it was it was very sad, you know. So the creativity went out of it, and now I find that we've wrestled that back. It's kind of given me a new lease of life. So the answer to the question is that what I do now has really fired me up into thinking that I can offer something to the world, you know, musically and creatively, rather than just going through those motions.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Absolutely. You know,
of course they want to hear the hits, and of course the tour's got a title like "Still Feel Like Dancing." I mean, but you know, but that's marketing. That's what they do. It's cool, you know. We've all got to kowtow to something. Like you know, I mean, you're a writer, and you want to write a kind of piece that's over 3 pages. The guy says, "I'll give you 3 columns." You know, we're all restricted, aren't we, in life? You know, there's
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 always a
so much we
compromise.
want to do. Exactly. So that's why journalists end up being novelists. You know,
Yeah.
it's it's like you got to expand. You got to do those things. Anyway, it's
Yeah.
grand to be coming back to Liverpool, where it
Yeah.
all started.
So I was
Yeah.
going to say, obviously you come to Liverpool on October 19th. Just can you tell us what can fans expect from the show on the night?
Yeah, I mean, lots of hits, every song that you recognize, and more. We do it like a football game. It's a bit like Anfield, isn't it? It's not Anfield. What am I talking about? Jesus Christ. It's it's a game of two halves. So we don't have a support act. We pack in as many songs as we can into the first half, take a quick break, and then pack in a load more, and then do a even more in the. So you know, we work to the curfew hours, really, basically try and get in as much as possible.
Mm.
And so yeah, it's fun, you know.
And how excited are you to come to Liverpool? Is it a city that you enjoy visiting?
Oh God, well, if you have the time, you know, the worst thing is that you have to amortize tours, because basically you've got a bunch of guys, maybe 14 or 15 people on the road, and every day costs money.
Yeah.
So basically, I mean, I'm looking at the itinerary here, and it looks like the day after the show in Liverpool, I think I'm going to have a day off in Liverpool. So I'm really looking forward to that. So I'll go out to the docks, go and see all my favorite pubs, go and take some pictures with my Leica, and yeah, and traipse around the old town, look for the old tea house that used to be beside Broad Street Station, and you know, maybe go down to the cavern, have a hang around, you know, meet a few old lads, and yeah, definitely, definitely. Last time I was up there, we went to Liverpool, to the team, and met a lot of people up there. It was great. It was absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
You know, we had a fabulous day up there, and went through all the memorabilia, and met some of the older players and everything. That was great.
Obviously, you know the city very well. Is it sort of
Yeah.
from all your your years
In
performing.
the old days, it was the Empire. We used to play the Empire, and I firmly remember playing it supporting Slade, which was an experience that you didn't want to always have. They threw everything at us before Slade went on, but then Noddy came out and said, "Stop it!" halfway through my show, and told them to stop and listen because he's good. That's what he said, and that was great. You know, it was really nice. So they actually did stop throwing things and actually listened to me, and we got a great response. But we used to play the Empire. We used to come up there and play that so much, you know, and also there was it Bellevue, or is that in Manchester? No, not
Oh,
Bellevue. It's a kind of like a sports stadium kind of place where they used to do a lot of exhibitions, and it was a rough as guts, but it was fantastic. And you get all the roughest crowd there, and they really got into it. They loved the songs, you know. So
yeah.
that was what it was always about.
Have you got a particular like favorite memory from your years coming to Liverpool? Something that stands out, or something that's quite special to you?
Uh, I think just playing the Empire, you know, doing those concerts up there,
Yeah,
getting such a reaction because it's a tough audience in Liverpool.
yeah,
Spoiled because so many great bands came from there, you know, and they knew, and they wouldn't, you know, if you spent too long between numbers, they would give you a hard time. You get on with it, you know. And it was a challenge, you know, to
yeah,
come to Liverpool and do something special because it's a special place,
yeah,
and always aware of that, you know, not just the Beatles, but plenty of other great soul bands were in Liverpool, you know, plenty of great crossover bands, plenty of folk artists as well came from Liverpool, you know, blues artists. So you're always aware of the tradition. Hey, and comics as well. Come
yeah,
on.
yeah,
You know? So all of those people had trod the boards before you, and you were aware that you had to measure up, you know. Tough audiences, they sang along and they loved it, but at the same time they gave you a hard time if they didn't, if you disappointed them, you know. So you
yeah.
couldn't disappoint.
Suppose you've answered my question almost. So I was going to ask him, is there anything that separates a Liverpool crowd from other crowds across the world, across that you performed in front of? But I suppose that like sort of the savvy,
Yeah.
but if you get them on board, they're on board. There's that.
You know, look, there are so many special places that are unique because of the audiences in our game, but they're also unique because of like the atmosphere of the cities, you know. And Liverpool was a city that survived and rebuilt itself so many times. I mean, the new Liverpool by the docks there, you know, with all those new fancy hotels and that fabulous big arena, which
Yeah.
I dream of playing one day. You know, it's like the Echo Bill. Is it the Echo or whatever they call it? You
Was
know,
so we liked it. It was called the Echo because it's named after our paper, but it's
yeah,
now
because it
called
was always there.
it's
Yeah, yeah,
it's now called the M&S Bank Arena. But locally, it's still
yeah.
known as the Echo.
Absolutely. But the big arena, it's great. And I went to a show there. It was fantastic. Um, and I think actually we did do a show there because I did one of those, you know, shows with the Osmonds or David Cassidy or something like that. You know, so we were actually there. But I'd rather be doing my own show there if you know what I mean. So it was great. But I think Liverpool's fascinating because there's so many different aspects, you know. I mean, if you get slightly to the burbs outside and there's still those little houses and those little streets, you know, where Ringo and everybody grew up. It's kind of still fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah,
You know, and I love the cathedral because, you know, came up with a Catholic family. And when I was very, very, very young, it's about 7 years old, I did a concert in the cathedral as a boy soprano. It was amazing because the sound in there was mind blowing.
was that one of
I was
your
scared
first
to death.
like exposures to performing? Then
It would
almost
have
the
been.
fact that
It would have been. I had a parish priest who taught me to sing, and then he'd kind of lend me to various parishes, you know, to performances. So I sung at Canterbury, I sung at London at the Catholic Cathedral there, you know, the Westminster one,
yeah,
the other Westminster Cathedral, the one that's in Victoria, you know,
yeah,
and I sung at Liverpool, and amazing experiences, you know, for a young kid, you know, singing. You know, it was crazy, and I suppose that's why the high voice with me, the falsetto has always stayed because it started in those years, you know.
yeah. With those early exposures to performing as a child, did you know then almost that that music was going to be your life?
Yeah. Well, it wasn't immediately because I went into art, into commercial art, graphic design, ended up doing record covers as well as magazine work, but I kind of crashed from that I think there was a reason. So, you know, I was meant to do something else, and I ended up singing and playing harmonica in folk clubs around London. And then I went back to my hometown, played in a folk club there, and a mate of mine came up to me and said, "Oh, we've got a blues band now. Do you want to join?" And I went, "Yeah." And within a few weeks, we went to an audition, and everything started from there. You know, won the audition, and that was it.
The rest is
And
history.
the rest is history, as it were. You know, so but I think in those early years, I knew I was destined to do something. You know, in music, I had perfect pitch. I could sing something and then come back a week later and be in the same key with the same song. You know, so if you've got that gift, then that's the start, isn't it? You know, you can make up anything from there.
I know, like 50 years later, you're still going strong. What's the key to your
Still
staying
trying to
power?
make a better record. I'm still trying to make a better record. I still think my best record's ahead of me. I always think that this time at 76, you know, there's still kind of like room to improve.
Without that passion for the music, without that, there's a belief that you're gonna better it. You wouldn't go through all the effort of going on a big tour around the UK, would you? Just,
I think people like Springsteen and Macca and you know Jagger and Keith Richards, they've still got eyes forward. Those
yeah.
guys, they're still thinking, "Hang on, there's something I haven't done yet." You
Yeah.
know.
Last year when you had some shows in the UK, you had to pull out because of just a few health issues. I just wondered
Yeah,
how are you at the moment? How are you feeling?
yeah, no, really good. I just had a heart checkup and it came out with flying colours. I've just got to walk a bit more and do my cholesterol, watch my cholesterol. But I'll be making up. I told the doctor, I said, look, in 2 weeks' time, I'm going to be running all over the stage. So you know, basically, I think I can get my cholesterol levels right at that time. You know, he said, yeah, okay, go for it. But I've got 2 stents. You know, so I've 3 stents rather. And I did get this infection last year, which was but it's okay. You know, you work around it. You know, you expect to have a few issues at this age. And I'm a terrible sleeper now. I mean, good sleeper. I lie in bed until 10 or 11 if I can. And you know, why not? Because I'm supposed to have all this energy. So I've got to store it up. So I'm like an electric car plugging in my battery, you know, overnight.
Yeah, so I was going to say, obviously, 776, and you're still looking credible, sort of, and you still got,
Oh,
still
thanks,
full of
man.
life, full
Well,
of full of energy.
my dad died 2 years before me, 74, and he had a full head of hair. So, you know, I guess it's hereditary, you know?
Yeah, I was going to say, what's the secret to staying young, but is it good genes?
Yeah, man, absolutely. Yeah. It's yeah, you know, I think you gotta look, you go through this life. I mean, everybody tries to tell you what to do in my business. And I've suffered from that a little bit. I mean, I've been ripped off by managers who thought they knew more than me and also prevented me from making money. But at the same time, at the end, you outlive people. And I always call it overtaking. I love it. It's like being in a car, you know, that guy's kind of holding me back. Right, okay. We go around him, you know, and you overtake people and you survive. And, you know, you always will come through. If you've got talent and if you've got creativity and you've got imagination, nothing can stop you.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely. And
lovely.
so you've now got, obviously, the repertoire in music is incredible. I've had an
Yeah.
amazing career. What have you got a standout moment, something that's particularly like stand out in your mind, the proudest thing that you've done?
Oh, I don't know, really. All of it, really. I wouldn't change a damn thing. I mean, even the mistakes of stupid things like going on Big Brother. It was an interesting study, you know, to see the dregs of humanity. You know, that's the producers. You know, it's like, you know, you realize what TV is really. I mean, it's isn't it? Everything about TV. I mean, you're looking at an election in America now, and the only thing that can it up is putting those two people on TV. You know, it's just, it's the worst medium. I think somebody asked me the other day, what's the worst invention you think? I said, the television.
Yeah.
Because
No,
everybody
no,
acts
no
like
more
it.
reality TV then. Celebrity
No,
Big Brother's back in
everybody,
back in England. You're not going
everybody
to go back
goes on
on
it.
it.
Yeah, everybody goes on it and acts like a prune. You know, it's just stupid. You know, unless it's drama or sport or news or you know, some document. I mean, we're making a documentary soon of me. So those kind of things are interesting. But you can't control a lot on TV. I'm writing about it in my book. Everything is out of your control. Radio's a bit easier,
Yeah.
and and doing interviews like we're doing now, you've got a certain sense of control. What you say can be mannered and can be listened to and can be, you'll look back later and say, oh, he said that. That's interesting, But on TV, it's only of the moment,
Yeah.
and people make mistakes and they up, and
Yeah.
it's there to be up.
Yeah.
Sorry, not to be crude, but that's basically it.
You alluded to your book then. Sort of what are you going on tour at the at the end of the year? Sort of what else on the horizon for yourself?
Well, we go out. I fly over on the 2nd of September, so I can acclimatise a bit, and wander around Soho a bit, and then basically we go up to Lincolnshire where everybody's based. Most of the band come down there, and where my team is based, and we rehearse in a little theatre there, and then we start off. It's 24th, of September. Bang, straight back to work.
Oh,
It's gonna be
amazing!
good.
It's just a hectic schedule, busy as ever. Then just how you like it.
Oh yeah, but it's really well planned. I mean, these things are incubated about 2.5 years before they happen, maybe
Yeah.
even 3 years. So we're going through fine details. I've got a great team, production-wise,
Yeah.
who do it all. And the musicians are all mates. They're fiercely loyal, and they make sure they're available, even though they go out and do other gigs.
Yeah.
So I'm very lucky. And I've got a similar setup down here in Australia. I divide it all at the equator. Anything north of the equator, the Poms get, and anything south of the equator, the Aussies get. So if I had a gig in China or Sri Lanka or something, that would be with the Aussie band, or India or something like that, and then South India anyway. If I've got something in kind of North Africa or America, it's with the English lot. So it's good. It works out kind of nice. I've got a manager in England and a manager in Australia, and
Absolutely.
Simon's our PR, and it's all good people. And you tend to kind of, I mean, just talk to a couple of people just now that I've talked to many times before. So you do tend to retread the steps, but it's always interesting because we all grow, and we all develop, and we